everyone.
Hello, Paridhi, and hello, everyone.
We're just going to wait for a few more people to join before we start. Meanwhile, can you guys help us understand the schools of some of you might be applying to all three, Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, while some of us might be applying to only one or maybe two. So help us understand which schools are you applying to so we know where our audience is at, and the school that, of course, wins. We're going to start the essay for that question first, for that school first. So yeah, feel free to drop that in the chat until we are waiting for people to start joining. Jatin, good to see you here.
Hello, Jatin.
All right, so Sasi is going for Harvard, Stanford, Kellogg, and Booth. No Wharton. She was going for all three. Shri, Teresa, Devi, Shiv, and all right, Devi is going. We're not discussing MIT today. MIT is another day, I think 2 weeks from now, but I'm sure you'll get something from this session.
Yeah, we're not covering the cover letter, guys.
Oh, okay, Harvard. All right, got it. How can you get confused? Yeah, it's good. It's easy to get confused. They're both in the city where the intellectual population is most dense as per the stats. All right, I think it's about time we should start. Shantanu, should we start?
Yeah, let's go, Paridhi.
All right, even though I know there are a few more people who are gonna join, but let me just kick off. All right, I'm Paridhi. Most of you know me. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I am the co-founder of MBA and Beyond. And just a little introduction about myself, which I don't do very often, but I'm happy to introduce myself today. So back in the day, I was a Harvard Medical School research fellow. I was supposed to pursue the path of PhD in medical sciences, which I did not take, and I branched out into entrepreneurship in 2013. Then worked as a digital marketing specialist in Singapore for a couple of years and went on to work as a lean startup coach and consultant for Unilever and Nestle before starting MBA and Beyond. And that's when Shantanu and I came together to start MBA and Beyond to help candidates identify their purpose with an MBA. However, I can tell you a brief, until everybody joins, idea when MBA and Beyond started. So it was just a conversation that we were having, and Shantanu was just graduated from INSEAD a couple of years back, and he said 80% of the population normally doesn't know what they are going to do with an MBA, while he was at business school. And he thought that he's going to get all the answers at business school, like people are going to be so aware, they're going to be so clear about whatever they're going to accomplish in life, but that wasn't the case. So MBA and Beyond originally started with an idea to help candidates gain clarity so that they can really make the most out of the most expensive degree that they're going to go for at some stage in life. So that's where MBA and Beyond started. And okay, so that was a little bit about me. And for my passions and causes that I care about is emotional intelligence and human connection right now. That's what I care about, and women empowerment. Apart from that, my hobbies are shuffle dancing, playing guitar here and there, and strength training, also writing poetry. So that's a little bit about me. Over to you, Shantanu, to introduce yourself.
Right, Paridhi, pretty interesting intro the way you had given. I'd also like to follow the same path. I'm also bored of giving my the other intro. Right, guys, I'm Shantanu. I also took an interesting journey. I did an online grocery startup back in 2013, 2014, raised seed funding, but then eventually crashed really very hard. Grocery is a very thin margin business, Then I got a job in Singapore in an online grocery company. It was Singapore's #1 startup by INSEAD, guys, by the way. Went over there, started working, And I was actually doing conversion rate, which is to increase the overall conversion rate of the website, increase the revenue. And while doing it, payment checkout come into my purview. And then while doing it, payments, the way when you put your cards in, and then you put your numbers in, and then there's a loader, there's a spinner that loads, right? So I was the guy then managing for that company as well. So when you do payments, fraud is also given to you at that moment in 2016. Fraud was like company was not able to afford anyone for fraud. It was really, very small. So I also learned fraud. Then I went to INSEAD. A phenomenal journey. But by the way, during the orientation week, actually the first day when I went to the B school, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? I always wanted to do something of my own. And the first thing that they said was, you guys are here to increase the value of the shareholder. That's what we're going to teach you overall. It took me by surprise because I wanted to be the shareholder. But anyways, B school happened. And by the time I graduated, remember I told you in my story about the fraud detection thing, where it was like if you're doing payments, you do fraud. Fraud had become an industry. It became a $13.7 billion industry. So I was hired under payments for fraud detection. I built a team of 42 people within 5 months. I was leading their payments and fraud detection in their entire 8 countries across Southeast Asia: Malaysia, Singapore, Japan, Thailand, Indonesia, Hong Kong, all these bunch of companies. So yeah, and then after that, MBA and Beyond happened, you know, and since then, been doing this full time. It's been an amazing journey, guys. It's just one. See, no one is going to put in the short term goal that you want to be an innovation consultant, right? Neither I had it planned at all. Um, but I think the feeling when someone gets through and they call you, because you've actually seen them when you work with them, you've seen them how in the beginning we're creating the story, and then the interview shortlist comes in, and then you're waiting for the result. There's this anxiousness, right? And when it converts, um, that particular feeling, when the applicant calls you, I think that just kept on motivating me to continue doing it, even until now. That's the fuel, I would say, that keeps me running. So yeah, that's pretty much about me. Paridhi, over to you.
Thanks, Shantanu. All right, so I think now we've got a pretty decent audience. I know there'll be more people joining, but we can already kick off. So looking at, I think we can start with Harvard because I see more of Harvard over here. Just helping you understand that, Shantanu, if there are, questions outside of Harvard, Stanford, Wharton through the session, please park them for later because we'll try to stick to only these 3 schools. There are more schools happening, of course, workshops in the coming days, but for today, it's going to be only these 3 schools. While, of course, if we will have some time left and there are some general questions, about the geopolitical situation and, competition right now and all of that, we can take all of that up towards the end of the session. But first, we'll try to go through one essay each for the schools. All right, Shantanu. So I'm going to read out the Harvard essay question. Shantanu is going to help you understand how should you approach. Now, when he's going to walk you through the approach, he's going to help you understand how should you start tackling the question at the very first step. Now, what we are doing for Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, of course, because these are big schools, you can choose any one school that you want an essay review on. Try and spend the next 2 to 3 days based on the approach that Shantanu is going to share with you. Come up with your answers, come up with your drafts, and feel free to share them with me. We can then, Shantanu and I can analyze your drafts and we can give you some constructive feedback. So anything that you are learning from here can be put to functionally use for your essays for January deadlines. All right, Shantanu. So the first question is the growth-oriented question. This is essay 3 at Harvard. Curiosity can be seen in many ways. Please share an example of how you have demonstrated curiosity and how that has influenced your growth. And the word limit is only 250 words over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shant.
To be to be honest, guys, I actually like the way Howard used to ask earlier. It was a very open-ended question, and then you need to weave your entire story and then simultaneously, go around the values. But I think now Howard is more in the face. They're like, tell me the growth-oriented, the business-minded, and the leadership one. But okay, today we're going to only talk about growth-oriented. Love to talk about it, and just the way Paridhi read the question, guys, it's a star approach, pretty simple. You got to explain a situation, you got to explain task, action, result, nothing new, all of you know it, right? But the beauty is the way you're going to showcase growth mindset. That is the entire beauty, right, of this essay. And one thing that I've realized that we are not going to do in this session that we have done in previous session, and also we are going to continue doing, we are continuing not doing that even in the future sessions, is read out the entire essay, because we could see there are a lot of note takers as well, right, guys? So I'm going to read a part of it to emphasize the points, that I feel are extremely important, not the entire thing. I hope that's understandable for everyone, right? Um, the way I would like to start this essay is, first of all, identify an opportunity, right? Opportunity is not about I want to have a promotion, and I'm going with that mindset, and then I found this and blah, blah, blah. No, you find an opportunity in business, in whatever job you're doing, or whatever stuff you're doing, right? An opportunity where you feel your company is struggling, your team is struggling, your manager is struggling, right? You are struggling, right? Because eventually, for you to grow, you need to come out of a struggle. So, what we showcase over here is being vulnerable matters, and how much vulnerability should you show? That's the trick, right? So, because it's some applicant vulnerability that I'm not going to share, right, over here like this in an open forum. But just to help you guys understand a little bit in the essay, so we start this essay saying, what excites me is doing something difficult, making extraordinary things happen by relentlessly challenging the proven truths till I either build something better or I find them justified. That's how my curiosity manifests itself, right? So we hit the curiosity part straight away, right? And then is thrown a situation where his company is sort of losing because of the competitors, and the competitors over here are banks. And banks reduce the interest rates, and then suddenly people stop taking uh, money from this company and rather would go to banks straight away, right? Take the loans. So here, over here, we've mentioned how this guy has seen business going down, how he has seen firing being happening, and how he's feeling at the moment. So we've talked about a particular moment with this particular, uh, uh, scene, scenario, and that's exactly where the vulnerability comes in, right? After that, it should be filled with action, guys. You've explained the situation, you've explained the vulnerability, right? It should be filled with actions that I did blah, blah, and blah, right? For instance, in this case, he wrote a wonderful um, um, line: is interest rate the only important factor for my customers, and which was beautiful, right? So we actually played around. Eventually it's a package, right? We do understand, even when you negotiate, generally in India it feels, or in emerging countries it actually feels, that if you get a better rate, that is the overall thing, right? But generally when you work in MNCs, and not in a company which is just regional, right? You focus on that negotiation happens on 3 points, which is time, quality, and price. Price is not the only thing; it's quality and time as well, right? So yeah, that's what the essay played on. After that, the quality and the time, and the user experience. Eventually, earlier in the situation during his vulnerability, we were talking about underwriting, right? Because eventually they were losing business, so they had to underwrite the money that they had put in, and the underwriting reduced by 5x. This is exactly where we first of all said that it's a huge achievement, but the way it helped him and his company was that his company could grow beyond that, and their revenue actually significantly improved out after that, and the company also promoted this guy, for solving a challenge, right? I think that's what it takes. Generally, if people have to talk about their promotion, they would say, "Hey, I did that. I led a team of 5. I built a new Gen AI model for onboarding new hires. I led a team of 5. Though I worked as a non-manager, I'm the only non-manager who led a team, right? And now the new joinees can really get onboarded without any manual intervention. So yeah, I got promoted." Right? Versus your company is going down, you hit him. So hit the company. Yeah, that's the difference. These will be my 2 cents for you over here.
Yeah, so I have a few questions here for us, all of us, to start structuring our thoughts. I mean, of course, you talked about some key points that we have to mention about growth. But does it necessarily have to be professional?
Oh no, not necessarily. But what we feel over here is when it comes to Harvard, and especially when you're talking on the subject of growth oriented and business minded,
Hmm.
right? Both need to be from the professional life. I'm not saying it's a job that you're doing. You probably could be doing something on the side, right? Uh, but I feel it should be from that angle. Whereas the other question, leadership, right? In that question, what we generally do is we bring in the other angle, Paridhi. So I guess, Paridhi, what you are really talking about is, do I only write professional stuff in the entire application, or do I also bring in the personal side? And we bring in the personal side through the leadership essay.
Yeah, and the question was, to be honest, because the only way we are able to, I feel that, when I read essays, I find differentiators only when things are coming more from professional side than personal side than professional side, because the professional can read very same for a lot of people. So are there any nuances that you can guide, you can help people think about that within the professional journey or growth that they're talking about, how can they personalize it? I understood that feelings and, the learnings.
Personalizing, yeah, I got your point. And that's why I say when you shared your vulnerability, that's when you are sharing your personal stuff, right? Though it's in a professional setting,
Yeah.
but you're actually sharing how you're feeling, right?
Yes. So, if we have to advise candidates on how should they approach this essay question to send us the first draft, of course, it is not going to be the whole essay. What will be the two most important things to begin with that candidates should start thinking about to lay the strong foundation for this essay?
Yeah. So I think this is what I also said in the last session is that I think instead of drafting their essays, right? Because I don't expect them to honestly to be able to do that. But what I feel is, I mean, again, I'm not questioning ability, guys. You can do it. There's no point in questioning the ability. But what I would expect is examples where they actually have been vulnerable
Got it. So maybe like,
and they found a growth opportunity. They actually found something where they were like, man, this can really go down, right? And also, what does growth mean to them? I think that's how I would like to
break
uh,
it down.
judge a piece.
Okay. So I think for all of us to summarize this, for the Harvard's growth question, maybe there are two aspects that we can focus on. One is vulnerability, and the other one is uh,
What is growth for you
what is growth for you, the definition of that. Don't try to tie them in together, but you can actually answer them separately. And we are happy
separately?
to,
And
we
keep
are
it short. And keep it short, guys. I mean, no one has the time to read like long things, right? Yeah.
all right. Okay. So if you've got any questions around this particular essay piece, please feel free to drop them here because this is one of the major essays for Harvard where You are going to talk about, yes, your professional life, but also vulnerability and growth and a lot of other stuff. So please feel free to ask. We'll wait 30 seconds. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next question. Meanwhile, somebody's WhatsApping me that they don't have the invite. So I'm just sharing it with them. If there are no questions, then we can move on to the next
Move
one.
on.
Yes. All right. So we will move on to Stanford, my favorite essay.
I think Jatin has asked a question over here.
Okay, yeah, please, Shantanu,
Yeah.
that one up. Yeah.
If it's professional growth, will the dollar impact of such situations hold a lot of weightage, I guess, or will it be just the impact particular to that situation? Um, so Jatin, again, it depends. I mean, eventually it's a business, so everything is going to boil down to the dollar value for sure, right? But also there are other cases where here I had actually mentioned that the percentage that they were underwriting, you know, also went down significantly. It came down by 5x, right? So yeah, indeed, eventually in the end we did talk about dollar value. But what is more important over here is that there was a challenge this company was facing, and it was actually because of the situation they had to underwrite a lot of stuff. So it was a percentage of how much they were underwriting, and then how this guy reduced it, and then further brought the company further revenue. So I hope, Jatin, I mean, both are tight, but it's not just the dollar value.
Got it. All right. So moving on to the next one, and I think this is going to take up most space and time in this session. Also, my favorite essay question in the business school world. So, what matters to you most and why?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. I mean, Stanford has been asking this question. It's been really very long, and it's a brilliant question. But honestly, guys, when you work as an admission consultant, you get bored with the questions like why MBA, which every school is asking. You gotta do it, and you do it so many times, right? For every school, you do it. But then when a school comes in and asks a very different question, right? Um, it's just amazing. So for this particular essay, what matters you the most? Um, Again, it could very well be a personal thing in a professional setting. Could very well be. But here's your chance to stand up for a cause, something you believe in, and something that you have actually done, because you can't make it up. It's a 650-word essay. You literally can't make it up, right? Because the moment you start making it up, it's a 650 words long essay. It's not going to be connected, you know. Um, so this is exactly where I feel you really got to ask yourself, you know. Um, the way we do it is obviously we have a narrative, I mean, it's like finding needle in the haystack of the content that applicants provide us. um, and what should go in over here, because I really don't want to. Because the next question is why Stanford. I obviously got to talk about these are my goals. This is how Stanford is going to help me. This is what I have, and blah blah blah, all that stuff, right? Usual. So yeah, cause that you stand for. I'm going to read. Okay, I'm not going to read out, but I'm just going to tell you a few things. I'm not going to read out the entire thing. Um, I get excited by this, guys. Um, So this guy starts with, just gonna read a little bit, you know. Um, this guy says that when I grew up, I've seen how individuals, society, and institutions strip people of their voice to the point where they feel completely helpless. When a powerful person illegally encroached on the land my father had bought with his life savings, no one, not even law enforcement, could help us. I saw my parents fall apart, not eating or sleeping for weeks until they finally accepted their loss and moved on. I swore never to feel this helpless ever again. Right? Strong opening, right? Like really strong opening. This guy is not crying. He's not saying that please give me the admit, guys. There's no way the tone is going to be this. The tone is in the entire essay is going to be like I'm a deserving one, and I'm going to do it. What I'm saying. Would you want to ride with me? But then through this, where the way it ends, I swore never to feel this helpless ever again. Then he talks about another vulnerability where it feels helpless again, you know. Um, and that thing he felt was related to his sisters, and it actually boiled down to women empowerment. Again, not going to read out that particular stuff. Uh, Again, vulnerability, right? And then the amount of, the number of things that this guy has done in order to support gender equity, driven by his family, driven by his sisters. Uh, the way he makes a conducive environment for the women employees, the way he creates um, women hiring, how do I say, windows where they're just gonna interview women, and then simultaneously what he also does is says that if women really have to come and work, then the men of this particular generation also need to understand that they got to take care at home. Then he talks about how this guy organized webinars for their husbands, or the males in the house. you know so yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful story, guys. Then it goes until to the point where this guy actually starts talking about how he made the difference. How so it's less about, eventually, obviously, we're gonna talk about how he made the difference. But before that, he talked about that how gradually started seeing the results. Right, it took 1 year and 8 months for this guy, right? And because this guy brought it here to this particular point, now talks about future, because what matters to him the most is talked about, right? Obviously, if there's something that matters to you the most, you're also going to think about future, you know, and then how impressively lays out that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that at Stanford, identify the opportunity, identify the specific clubs, it was really wonderful. It was extremely good to work with this guy. Also when we helped him connect with the alums. He was actually phenomenal. I mean, everyone said that this guy should be in. So yeah, that's how this story went. Again, guys, I'm not reading the entire essay.
Yeah.
You know,
I think we got the gist, Shantanu. So I'll try to summarize this. What we've noticed, one of the common things I see here, and you also talk a lot about INSEAD's essay, because there's one thing that this guy is opening up with is the turning point in his life, which was something massive that created an internal shift in an individual. And then, of course, that led to believing in a certain cause. For, of course, there were multiple examples, and then bringing in the evidences to support, of course, the idea that I believe in the cause. Just saying it as it is may not be sufficient. And I think, I mean, this is going to go in later, but if we have to structurally start thinking about this particular essay, can we say that we think through a turning point, and we think through a cause, to a cause that it links to start off?
absolutely, absolutely. Because see, for you to say anything, that this is what matters to me the most. And I think if you read the question says, "And why?"
Why?
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not what matters to you the most, it's what matters to you the most and why, right? So we start with the motivating factor, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so that comes first for sure.
Yeah. So if you're answering Stanford's question, any one of you, my suggestion would be to think through that turning point and the cause. So you will, and they can be absolutely like unlinked. You may not know exactly how to connect the dots and all of that. And maybe you don't have the evidences right now. Don't worry about that. That is going to come in much later. But think through that turning point in your life that could have given you a cause to worry about or to solve for, not just worry about. Because if you're not solving for it and just worrying about it, it will also not do any good to your application. While, of course, this application is very differentiated, I feel, because I talk to thousands of candidates, and there's only handful of men talking about gender equity. I feel when we come in and we start talking about as the other gender to, for gender equity, it may be a very interesting thing too. And I see a lot of people leaving. Maybe that's not an interesting topic for people to discuss here because that's not what they relate to, and that's all right. So I think like that really gives me goosebumps, especially when they're answering question like that, this deep. So over.
So Paridi, what they really need to do over here is because even this guy, this story didn't. So it's not that this guy knew what to write, right? And there were a bunch of stuff. He had like 20 different anecdotes, like where the way we collect stuff, right? So I think it's more about finding the needle in the haystack, and I think that is what you guys should do. You know, what you guys should start really doing is um you really think about, first of all, really think about what matters to you the most. A 650 word essay, like something I said earlier, there's no way you can write a made up thing over here. You're not gonna get the interview shot. It's pretty simple, right? If you do, um what is it that you really care about? And you will find multiple stuff, right? Then think again after that. That's the first thought. Okay. Think again after that, and keep it at the back of your mind when you're eating dinner, you're sitting on the pot in the morning, you know, even when you have a little time while you are, I don't know, Instagramming, right? Just keep it at the back of your head. It'll come in, and make notes, and really make notes. Everyone has notes in their phone. The moment any little thing comes in, it's not that you're gonna have an epiphany, that gotcha, no, it's not gonna happen like that, guys, right? But what you really gotta do is keep on writing stuff, right? And then that together is probably good, and then reflect upon it, right? So I personally hate the word reflect upon it, right? I mean, I don't understand the entire meaning, but what I really mean to say over here, when you write it, you take a look at it again, right? And you will find something, right? You will find multiple stuff. So I think what's more important over here is just a single line. What matters you the most? If you can find that, right? That would be more than sufficient to have a good start, first of all, for this essay, right? This is a very difficult essay, and an amazing essay, by the way, you know. And then just understand what is the motivation behind it. How long has this motivation been with me? I think if you answer these three questions, that would be more than sufficient.
Yeah, I think Shantanu, we've discussed several approaches like, okay, the turning point and the cause, and now you're talking about what matters and tie that back into the motivation for something. So, can we say that the turning point and the cause followed by the motivation structurally? I'm sorry, I'm just asking us to structure this a little so that when you and I are analyzing the very fundamental essay of candidates, it's easier for all of us.
Yeah, turning point is a very good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you studied differentiate like functions in maths, where you differentiate. You got to identify. When there's a peak, when there's a trough, right? Then the minimum point over there, and that's generally the inflection point, right? Similarly, even in your life, if your life is the function fy, and if you do dfy by dx, try to understand where was the turning point. It's an easier way, not an easy, I wouldn't say easier way, but it's a good way to find this answer, to look at, you know.
All right. Any questions around the Stanford question before we move on to the Wharton's question? So,
Sorry, guys, would you mind, before we move on, would you mind just giving 60 seconds? And if anyone has any question, guys, please feel free to just drop in over here, right?
yeah, we're not moving on, Shantanu. We'll wait 60 seconds. Meanwhile, Shantanu is coming back. I would like to also let you know that for each of these essays that you're thinking through, of course, the next stage comes in how to match with the value system of the business school. And one of the values, that I've seen in all the Stanford admits that we've ever gotten is building a community. And I think that's what Shantanu was also just talking about when he was sharing that the candidate talked about how he has been contributing to the community, and this candidate also built a community for the same. So it's essential for you, like, when you're really talking about a cause, you're just not talking about the cause, you're actually supporting it with the evidences that are matching with the value system of the business schools. So yeah, all right, we've got. Oh, okay.
That's a very,
All right, that's
that's a very interesting one. That's a very, very interesting one. Kind of, yeah.
oh yeah, all right, guys. So are there any questions apart from what Jorg, is that how I pronounce your name? Jorg, if I am pronouncing it right, yeah, has asked. So yeah, all right. I am going to move on to the next one, Shantanu, then.
Yep. Next one I think is from Wharton, right?
Yes, taking into consideration your background, personal, professional, it's a very boring question, I feel. Personal, professional, and or academic, how do you plan to make specific, meaningful contributions to the
Ah,
Wharton
right,
community?
right.
Yeah.
When you said boring, I thought, do you want to talk about the goals essay?
No, it's just
Um,
that you give
but
back
I'm
to,
glad I'm glad it's not the goals essay. Yeah.
it's
Okay. Yeah. Over here, guys, I mean, contribution matters a lot to schools, like a lot. Um, any place, it's going to be something that is also going to come, not just in the essays, in the application, but it's also going to come at the interview stage, where you will actually have to showcase yourself. And even if the interviewer has not asked this question, I know I'm talking about interview because interviews are happening these days, guys. So, so one thing that I've been telling every applicant is that during the interview, even if they forget to ask or they don't ask about contributions, if just in case the question comes in, is there anything you want to talk about? You inject it, right? It's so important. So coming back to the essay over here, it's guys, it's extremely important, because the other Wharton essay is like, what are your goals, right? Um, I think the way to go about this is you say something. I mean, you first of all tell something that you have done concretely, right? And then you showcase how you would be able to contribute. You will be able to do such a thing, right? This is approach one, right? Approach two. I mean, there can be multiple approaches over here, but yeah, the other approach over here is that you mention that how you have gained some knowledge which is unique, right? How you increase the breadth of your knowledge base, right? And which is unique to you, right? Just don't say I launched the go-to-market. I did the go-to-market strategy for my company and I made the product live, someone saying, this project was supposed to be launched on that day, right? And I made sure that it was getting delayed. So I made sure it happened. Yeah, those are like the basic stories, like almost everyone has it, right? Um, but something really unique, you know, that that you have through which you can contribute. I think that contribution for sure. And through this, we also like to showcase social leadership or the social impact that you've had or any of the community services that you've done, right? So it's not just about saying I did this, blah blah, see how good I am, No, but I guess it's more about also identifying the specific um, clubs or specific school initiatives to include in there. And it actually should be aligned with your overall narrative, with your overall story, guys. That goes without saying, for all the essays until now that I've said, right? That goes without saying. Um, yeah, I think that's the best way of tackling it. If you guys want, I'm just gonna read. I know if I'm not gonna read anything, then whatever I said is not gonna make like any sense at all to everyone. So I think a small thing that I can read over here is that this guy comes in and says that my journey from quantitative strategist to working pro bono with top VCs to building startups from ground up has been guided by my mentor. And names the mentor, and mentor, by the way, and then another one. And this mentor, by the way, is a Wharton grad, and the other one is from India as one of the top VC firm. They said that this mentor introduced me to top founders who involved me in real-time problem solving with them. The most defining experiences of my life. I've sat across founders of billion-dollar companies, listened to their stories of giving up 1,000 times a day, setting realistic expectations from the long journey of entrepreneurship. And then he says, "This is what I'm going to bring." Pretty unique, right? Like how many founders have you guys sat with, discussing their problems, and founders of billion-dollar companies, right? So which is pretty unique. And then says that I'm as a Wharton guide mentor, I use personal experiences to inspire young graduates, blah, blah, blah. And then I will also um, be able to call some very inspirational founders to the school as well, giving like a guest lecture and all that stuff. And he named like big names over there. So, but again, it's not about naming something big, but what I'm really trying to say is that something unique to you, right? Not everyone has it, right? And that's exactly what I said. Go-to-market strategy is not going to work, right? Product life is not going to work. Meeting deadline is not going to work. Yeah. Any questions, anyone?
Yeah, so the example that you've given, Shantanu, here is a professional again. I mean, will the school also value a personal example as much is also my
So here we throw multiple examples. It's not just this. So you got to showcase multiple countries and
or one contribution to the community in Wharton that we're going to do. So identify that one way you're going to contribute, and then you have a professional example, a personal example, or can it be multiple ways that you can contribute? Like, for example,
multiple ways. Yeah. It's a 400-word essay. Had it been only 200 word, we would only put in one.
And how many ideal ways do you recommend, as a consultant, that we should talk about? For example, like when we talk about values, when we talk bringing out values, we want to restrict it to just 4. Otherwise, all our values get diluted. But is there a recommended, approximate number that we should be looking at?
I see what you're saying. No, I mean, I personally see what applicant has. If they have 3 and they're and I feel that it can be converted into beautiful thing, because we can really take it from the previous applicants as well, right? That this is something similar. It's going in this direction, and we've sold this earlier, right? So we can inject 3 as well. I've injected 3 as well. One is like taking the majority of the space, which is like we'll go for like let's say 170, 150 words, and then the other ones, shorter. So there are ways, but 2, yeah, it's a standard thing to do. Include 2,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
Pretty normal.
with the right evidences, of course. So
Right evidence, of course.
yeah. So if you're answering this question, maybe pick 2 contributions that you can do. One may be personal, one professional, or however, maybe both professional, maybe both personal, however you guys want to contribute. I think that any questions for the contribution to the Wharton community essay? There are very few questions today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I again read the derivative of a lives to integrate into the essay. It's a really good one.
All right. If there are no more essay questions, guys, we have time. So we are happy to take any other questions about anything application that you want to. But yeah, of course, we'll wait 60 seconds for Wharton questions to come in if you're doing Wharton application.
Yeah. And if you guys don't have, guys, I mean, I'd be off. I would love to enjoy my Friday.
Yeah, we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Wait out for a little bit. And feel free to send in your drafts if you're writing. Also, by Monday or Tuesday, not Monday, Tuesday. And again, if you're targeting round 2, go for it. Round 3, it can become tricky because we have had a lot of candidates last year whose student visas got rejected. So that's a sensitive discussion. We're going to have it next week. So if you haven't joined
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a part of our community yet or not, but feel free to join our community. Maybe I'll have someone drop the link over here, or I'll myself drop it. But we are going to have a brief chat about the situation of the world, geopolitical condition, and how should you be hedging your bets and all of that. So please feel free to bring those questions next week. I think it's going to be on a Thursday or a Friday. We'll pick a date. We haven't chosen it yet. Meanwhile, if any other questions, feel free to ask.
But there's one thing that I really want to tell everyone. But yeah, once you're done.
Yes, just one note I wanted to make for everyone. Since a lot of candidates here I see are from India, of course, there are people from Indonesia, Malaysia, and South America as well, I see. But for all Indian candidates who are applying to ISB, also non-Indian candidates, if you're applying to ISB, this year, this cycle, we are helping all our candidates to apply to ISB at no extra cost. So that's just something that I wanted to make everyone aware, because not everyone is aware. So if you are targeting ISB, and even if you're not targeting ISB, you can target ISB, is what I mean to say. So yes, Shantanu, over to you. I'll just drop the link meanwhile.
Right. Yeah, what I really wanted to say is it's just a bit of situational awareness, guys. It's October, right? Mid-October, you got R2, right? If you're still thinking whether I should apply or not, it's fine, up to you. It's your decision to make, right? In the current market conditions. But just be aware that I personally don't think that R3 is going to be the round that you should actually apply to at all. Looking at what happened last year, where people who had gotten through R2, their visas got rejected. I mean, I'm just talking about USB schools. I'm not talking about HSW. I'm talking about Columbia. I'm talking about these schools, you know. So yeah, take R2. If you really want to apply, then R2 is the shot that you should take, right? That's it. Cheers, everyone.
As international candidates, I've dropped the link to our community over here. Feel free to join, and next week we'll have a chat just around it, brainstorm around what's going on, which schools to look at, and why. All right.
All
Thanks
right.
for
Bye-bye.
joining, and thanks for sticking around. So you've been a great audience, and thanks for being such a great audience always. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye, guys. Enjoy Friday.